The Boston Red Sox have made a huge declaration regarding Rafael Devers and his position to start the 2025 season.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And want to know the best part? It's completely free. So you might as well continue to tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the show. We are 8 days away from opening day, and a very special player wore number 8 for the Boston Red Sox throughout his career. You probably already know who it is, but I'm going to be talking about him a little bit later on today's show, as well as some more roster decisions that the Red Sox are coming closer and closer to as they start to iron things out come opening day. And one of the biggest roster decisions that are surrounding the Red Sox right now is Rafael Devers and whether he was going to start the season as a DH or playing third base. Earlier in spring training, he mentioned that third base is his position and that that's where he wants to play. Whereas Alex Bregman came in and said, I'll play wherever the team needs me to play. They have been taking reps together at third in spring training, but not during games. Alex Bregman has been playing third consistently in games, and Rafael Devers hasn't gotten to play third in any games yet. Now, Alex Cora was asked about Devers, and he basically said that it's very unlikely that Devers will appear in a spring training game at third base. So with the regular season just 8 days away, he'll be ready to DH for the season opener against the Rangers, but him starting at third base seems unlikely. So that's basically saying it without saying it, to be honest. That's basically saying it's unlikely that Devers will be ready to start the season at third base, so therefore he's going to DH. But they didn't put it out directly like that. It's just Alex Cora's way of saying, we don't think he'll be ready to play third. So that kind of makes that decision a little clearer now that Alex Bregman most likely is going to be in the lineup at third base on opening day with Rafael Devers as the DH. Now, there's still a chance that Devers could see some time at third base during the regular season, but it's just hard to imagine that that would happen on a regular basis because of the fact that they do have Bregman now, who is a much better defender than Devers. So unless Bregman gets hurt, Devers would likely only play there in that situation to basically give Bregman a bit of a breather, or if he is going to miss an extended period of time, at least they know that Devers can play third. While Devers initially kind of was baffled at the idea of moving off of third base, he eventually relented publicly and said, I'll play where the team needs me to play. Supposedly, he had considered asking for a trade, but I'm not really thinking that's true. Even if he had walked into the front office and demanded to be moved elsewhere, he's under contract for 9 more years. So the Red Sox definitely would not have wanted to move him. Ultimately, the Red Sox didn't pay him $313.5 million for his defense. He's there to hit. That's his strong suit. And the sooner that he adjusts to being able to play DH, the better the team will be in the long run. They just have to kind of weather the storm for now while the emotions of the whole thing are still running high, because I can imagine that this doesn't make Devers happy. I mean, why would it? He feels like third base is his position. And if he went into this offseason expecting to play third and made it a goal of his to improve his skills defensively at third base so that he could have a chance to show that he can play that position better in 2025, I mean, I'd be disappointed too if I were him and that was the case, because he spent all this time trying to focus on how he could improve in order to play a better defensive third base and then for the Red Sox to go and get Bregman, and him now not having gotten any time at third base yet. I mean, the Red Sox hands are tied here, because if Devers had been healthy over the course of the spring, then it would be a different situation here. It would be more a situation of, okay, let's try them both out at third and see how things go. If Devers has shown vast improvement defensively, then he could maybe be the starting third baseman, and we have Alex Bregman play second. But because of the fact that Devers hasn't really shown improvement in that regard, because he hasn't been able to be out there because he was recovering from injury, we don't know if we can feel confident enough in passing up on having Bregman's defense at third base and putting Devers there, because he hasn't gotten those reps. So obviously it's not Devers' fault. It's not really something he can control that he was hurt, and he definitely wants to make sure that the shoulder is under wraps first and foremost. That needs to be the priority here. But ultimately, at the end of the day, because of the fact that he had that injury, he wasn't able to get those same kind of reps in that Alex Bregman was able to get in. So hopefully for Devers' sake, he's able to go into the season with an open mind, because as a DH, he could accomplish so much. I mean, the David Ortiz comparisons are no fluke. This is a guy who could end up in the Red Sox Hall of Fame. This is a guy who could be one of the best baseball players that we've ever seen come through the Boston Red Sox organization. Now, obviously, that's saying a lot, because there have been so many legendary players that have come through. But for a guy who we are hoping will spend his whole career in Boston, if he can rack up those numbers offensively consistently, then we're looking at a really special player here. Now, when it comes to Devers' offensive numbers, he definitely had a good season in 2024, but he could have an even better season in 2025, because I do think, even if he doesn't want to admit it, mentally he'd be in a better spot if he doesn't have to worry about his defense and he's just focusing on DH. This was the same thing that I had said about Masataka Yoshida, was if they pulled him out of the outfield and he didn't have to focus on his defense and was just hitting primarily, then I feel like we could see better numbers from him, because he doesn't have that distraction of having to worry about having his defense be a factor. So to me, Devers might be better off by having himself focus on just hitting, as opposed to having to focus on defense as well. And now this also obviously raises that question about, okay, if Devers is going to DH to start the season, then where does that leave Yoshida? Do they start Yoshida in the outfield? Do they try to see if he can tread water defensively? Most likely he's going to lose playing time. That just is what it is at the end of the day. In reality, he's not going to play over Devers. So if Devers is primarily DHing and there isn't really as much of a spot for Yoshida, then we could see the Red Sox try to give him spot starts in the outfield if somebody gets injured or needs a day off. And then maybe if Devers is taking the day off, he'll DH. Or if Bregman is taking the day off, they have Devers play third and Yoshida DH. But I don't think we're going to see as much regular consistency from Yoshida when it comes to being in the lineup as we're used to. I think his playing time is going to be reduced moving forward. And it's just tough for the Red Sox, because I had said that they should try to trade him during the offseason, because I kind of foresaw that there might not be a roster spot for him. But I don't think the Red Sox were able to find a trade partner for him. I mean, rightfully so. Nobody wants to take on his contract, especially with the fact that he is not a good defender. So people are struggling to justify picking up that contract. So it's just a tough situation now, because the Red Sox have Yoshida still here under contract for a few more years, and they're paying him to do what exactly? Because when they acquired him, obviously they were hoping that he would do more. And then ultimately going into this offseason, they probably assumed that Devers would play third base to start the season. Obviously, they were trying to find a right-handed power bat. Then they get Bregman, and now they have this decision to make. And now they're really close to opening day, unsure about what to do about Yoshida, because of the fact that Devers likely won't be ready to play third base come opening day. And the Red Sox are definitely making the right decision there, because they can't just throw Devers into the third base spot when he hasn't gotten those reps this offseason, especially because he has shown that he has struggled defensively in that position over the course of his career. So it's just tough to be like, hey, Devers, we know you haven't gotten these reps at third base this offseason, but go ahead and play third. Because if he got the reps in and his defense was still a struggle, but at least he had gotten a taste of third base going into the season, then maybe the Red Sox could justify it a little bit by saying, okay, we want to keep Devers happy, so we're going to give him the starting third base job and we'll have Bregman play second base. Maybe I could see the justification for that, but the Red Sox now have an opening to say to Devers, hey, you haven't gotten those reps in the offseason, so we can ease you back into it. But for now, you're going to be the designated hitter, because that's more blaming it on his injury and him not being able to get the reps, more so than them saying they just don't want him to play third. So ultimately, I think this works out better in the long run for the Red Sox because they have a legitimate reason to not have him start the season at third base that isn't saying we think Bregman is a better defender, so we want him to play third. So I'm hoping that we have everybody going into the season here with a positive mindset, Devers, Bregman, everybody involved, so that the Red Sox can just go win some games. And who else is going to help the Red Sox win games in 2025? I'm going to be talking about some more pending roster decisions next. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Red Sox season is coming up, I can count on them to help grab tickets that meet my needs. I recently grabbed last-minute tickets for a game, and Game Time had unbeatable prices, which meant more money for food and merch. This makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the stadium. I love that I can preview my exact seat before purchasing. No bad surprises when I get to the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I have never been disappointed with Game Time ever, so I highly recommend that you check it out because you would be surprised at the great deals that it actually really has on tickets for any sporting event. We are so close to opening day now, 8 days to be exact. And what does that mean? That the Red Sox are going to start finalizing their roster. And as they start to make those roster decisions, some of those decisions could be tough. I mean, most recently, Luis Guerrero is among players who has been cut from Major League camp and will start the season in AAA. And that's definitely disappointing for him because he got his call up to the majors last year. So he was probably riding such a high and was ready to start the season in the majors. I really like his stuff, so I'm a little puzzled by that decision, but the Red Sox must feel that they have other guys who are further along. I just don't want them to have somebody else start the season on the Major League roster who's weaker than he is. So I definitely am hoping that he eventually gets called back up again and he can contribute out of the Red Sox pen. But we are looking at more roster decisions that need to be made here, including the one about second base. Now, there has been a question surrounding who's going to start the season at second. Is it going to be Kristian Campbell? Is it going to be David Hamilton? Is it going to be Vaughn Grissom? Or is it even going to be Alex Bregman? And the whole thing was whether Rafael Devers was going to play third or not was highly dependent on this decision, because if they had Devers play third, then Bregman would just be the second baseman. But because the Red Sox don't think that Devers is going to be ready to play third come opening day, therefore that means Bregman will play third, and therefore that means one of these other youngsters has the chance to be the starting second baseman. And based on Red Sox reporters and just people that are around the team, it does appear that Kristian Campbell is in the lead to win the second base job, even though he has struggled at the plate so far this spring. So I find that to be an interesting decision, because David Hamilton has definitely had a better camp than him overall. And I am a little bit surprised that the Red Sox wouldn't have Hamilton as the lead candidate to start at second base, but maybe they just really believe in Kristian Campbell, and maybe they've just been holding out hope that he would show some decency at some point in the spring for them to justify putting him on the roster, because he did have a big game the other day, and the Red Sox are probably saying, okay, he finally found his breakthrough. Because I think the Red Sox went into this offseason with there being a chance that they would award the everyday second base job to Kristian Campbell, but obviously there were other guys that were in the mix. But I feel like that was something that they had been wanting to do for a while, was give him the spot. And I am a little bit concerned about whether he's ready for the majors yet. Are they rushing into this decision? If they do have him be the everyday second baseman to start the season, does he need to put up better numbers at AAA, or is it just a spring training thing where he's a little bit rusty, but he can go into the majors with ease? I think the Red Sox feel comforted knowing that he moved through the system pretty quickly in the farm system for the Red Sox. And so he was able to go from level to level pretty seamlessly. So I think the Red Sox like that, and they like the idea of him going out there and being able to contribute every day out of that second base spot. And they feel like because he made the transition easier to the other levels, that he can also make that transition seamlessly for the majors. So that is probably what the Red Sox are thinking here when it comes to this decision on Kristian Campbell, is he can handle it because he showed at the other levels that he can handle it, which I get that, but at the same time, they don't really correlate. And I do feel badly for a guy like David Hamilton, who had a really good camp and also showed last season that he could contribute a lot with his speed on the base paths. And I just don't feel like it makes sense to necessarily put Kristian Campbell in there if he isn't showing that he's ready. And I just feel like I would have given him some more time in AAA and given David Hamilton the starting second base job. Obviously, nothing's set in stone. The Red Sox haven't declared Kristian Campbell the starting second baseman, but from the sounds of it, that's what they're leaning towards. And if they do that, I just hope he can go out there and excel right away, because I think if the Red Sox wanted that extra security blanket, I would have had David Hamilton play second to start the season, because he showed a lot in the spring of being ready for the season. And then give Kristian Campbell that extra time in AAA, just even from a peace of mind standpoint, to be able to know, okay, he is performing well in AAA, so we can give him a shot to get called up. But by rewarding him the second base job now, that's putting a lot of pressure on him, saying, okay, you have to perform right away. Whereas if he had some more time, I feel like he could be a little bit more comforted in knowing that he can get called up when he's ready. So it's definitely a risky decision to do that. Obviously, like I said, nothing is set in stone, but the Red Sox seem to be leaning towards having Campbell start the season at second base. And another question mark was surrounding the closer role, but with just days left in Florida, Aroldis Chapman appears to have become the in-house favorite to close games to start the season. Liam Hendriks has appeared to have corrected some of his major command issues that he showed earlier in camp, but the quality of Chapman's stuff has been undeniable. He still does have a problem with walks as well, but the fact that he still throws 100, 101 miles an hour makes the Red Sox really confident in him being able to pitch in those high leverage spots. Second-year righty Justin Slayton also seems best suited for a high leverage role. So I think there could be a possibility of the Red Sox switching between Chapman and Slayton to close games starting the season. I don't know if they would want to stick Slayton directly in that role when he hasn't closed games for the team before, but he definitely did show last year that he has the ability to pitch in high leverage. So maybe he starts the season as the 8th inning guy with Chapman in the 9th, who has a vast experience closing. And then if Slayton is continuing to pitch well, then maybe they give him a shot in the 9th. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the plan that they go with. And with Liam Hendriks, they would have him pitch in low leverage until he can make sure that he really has that command down in order to be able to start the season. So I feel like there are still a lot of decisions that need to be made on that, but the Red Sox do like overall what they have seen from Chapman in camp. The only risk that we run into with that is what version of Chapman are we going to get? Because over the last couple seasons, he has pitched more as the setup man, more so than the 9th inning closer. So to me, I'm wondering, are we going to get a version of Chapman who goes out there and pitches really well in the 9th, or are we going to get a guy who's kind of rusty and is walking a lot of players and doesn't serve as a reliable closer? Because we could say what we want about Kenley Jansen, that when he pitched, it was a roller coaster because he would always let up base runners and it would be a nerve-wracking 9th inning, but he generally got the job done. You kind of knew when he went out there that there was going to be a possibility of him blowing the lead, but you also kind of knew in the back of your head that he usually got it done more often than not. So I want that feeling with a Red Sox closer. I want it to be somebody who we feel we can trust and will go out there and get the job done. And I can't confidently 100% say that about any of these guys because they're all a question mark in different ways. But if the Red Sox are leaning towards Chapman to close games to start the season, I would say do that, but make sure that Slayton is getting equal opportunities in high leverage spots so that he has a chance to show if he can be a closer, because I do think it's worth considering since he was the Red Sox most consistent and reliable reliever in 2024. So I think he deserves that shot. So if I'm the Red Sox, I'm saying, okay, we're going to start the season with Aroldis on the mound in the 9th. Slayton, you get the 8th, and then everything else kind of works itself out from there. So I'm definitely excited to see how this all plays out. I don't think the Red Sox can necessarily go completely wrong unless they pick somebody to close games who just is not showing at all that they have that capability. But I think if they start with Chapman and then Slayton increasingly pitches better, then maybe they move Chapman into that 8th inning role, since that's a lot of what he's done over the last couple seasons, and that they then put Slayton in for the 9th inning. So we'll have to see how that decision plays out. And in terms of the backup catcher role, that is still down to Carlos Narvaez and Blake Sabol, with Narvaez the leader to serve as the number 2 option behind Connor Wong. Sabol does have versatility as a depth outfielder, so that may intrigue the Red Sox if another player like Wilyer Abreu or Romy Gonzalez can't play come opening day. Maybe they consider that option, although they do have a lot of outfield depth right now. But the reason Narvaez is considered a favorite for the backup catcher role is because he plays really good defense, and Connor Wong struggled defensively last year. That was just not the strong suit of his game. So they definitely want somebody out there as a backup catcher who's going to be a good defender. So that's why ultimately I think Narvaez is going to end up winning that backup catcher role, but they can keep Sabol around for different opportunities or if one of the catchers gets injured. So a couple more decisions that still need to be made. Alex Cora did say that the roster doesn't have to be set before they go to their exhibition games in Mexico early next week, as long as it's set before opening day. So it's a possibility if there's another week or so before we know more about all of these roster decisions. But coming up, we're 8 days away from opening day. Who is the best Red Sox player to wear number 8? That's coming up. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Whether you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. Just Ingredients is fantastic. I absolutely love it. Have not stopped using it since. So be sure to purchase some of your own.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
March Madness is here. I am so excited. Make sure you get your brackets filled out before tomorrow at noon. Do not forget, I can't wait to see all the madness of March. And March Madness also leads right into opening day. So definitely a fun time of year to be a sports fan for sure. And we are exactly 8 days away from opening day, which is incredibly exciting. Just over a week. I can just smell those Fenway Franks at Fenway Park in a couple of weeks. I cannot wait. So Red Sox fans, get yourself hyped up because obviously there are a lot of good, exciting Red Sox players to get excited about going into this season, but there are also a bunch of legends who have come through the Boston Red Sox organization. And with 8 days until opening day, who was the best former player to wear number 8 for the Boston Red Sox? Yep, you guessed it, Yaz. Carl Yastrzemski, the legendary man who was the key in one of the most impactful seasons in team history in 1967. Yaz played all of his 23 seasons for the Red Sox, doing it with his bat, in which he hit 452 home runs, and his glove with 7 Gold Glove awards. It's hard to deny that there are many players in baseball history who are better than Yaz. I mean, he definitely is one of the best to ever do it. He played left field and first base. And what was cool was just that he spent his entire career in Boston, because you don't see that very often where a player spends the entirety of their career somewhere. He's an 18-time All-Star in 1963, 1965 to 79, 1982, 1983. All of those seasons, he was an All-Star, which is pretty incredible. AL MVP in 1967, as well as won the Triple Crown in 1967. 7-time Gold Glover in 1963, 1965, 1967 to 69, 1971, and 1977. He was also a 3-time American League batting champion in 1963, 67, and 68. And he led the American League in home runs in 67 and in RBIs that same year. His number 8 is obviously retired by the Boston Red Sox, and he is in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame. So tons that he accomplished throughout the course of his career. He began his major league career in 1961 and hit his first home run off of former Red Sox pitcher Jerry Cassell. From the beginning, there was tremendous pressure on him to perform as he succeeded to the position of the great Red Sox legend Ted Williams. He proved to be a worthy successor at the plate and a far superior defensive player with a strong arm, expert in playing off the green monster. And in 12 years as a left fielder, he won 7 Gold Gloves and led the team in assists 7 times. While his first 2 years were viewed as solid but unspectacular, he emerged as a rising star in 1963, winning the AL batting championship with a batting average of .321 and also leading the league in doubles and walks, finishing 6th in the MVP player voting. I mean, whoever had the pleasure of watching Yaz in person, I am so jealous. It probably was so incredibly special. He enjoyed his best season in 1967 when he won the AL Triple Crown with a .326 batting average, 44 home runs, and 121 RBIs. His Triple Crown win in 1967 was the last time a major league hitter won the batting Triple Crown until Miguel Cabrera in the 2012 season. Conversely, 6 different pitchers have since won the pitcher's version. Yaz was voted most valuable player almost unanimously. His 12.4 WAR was the highest since Babe Ruth's 1927 season. 1967 was the season of the impossible dream for the Red Sox, who rebounded from a 9th place finish a year before to win the AL pennant, their first one since 1946, on the last day of the season. With the Red Sox battling as part of a 14 pennant race, Yaz hit .513 with 23 hits and 44 at-bats. That's actually insane. With 5 home runs and 16 runs batted in over the last 2 weeks of the season, and finished a mere 1 game ahead of the Detroit Tigers and Minnesota Twins. The Red Sox went into the final 2 games of the season trailing the Twins by 1 game and leading the Tigers by 1 half game. Their final 2 games were against Minnesota with the pennant and home run title, hence the Triple Crown on the line. In the Saturday game, Yaz went 3 for 4 with a home run and 4 RBIs. Killebrew also homered, but the Red Sox won 6-4. Then the teams went into the final game tied for first place, and Yaz and Killebrew were tied with 44 home runs apiece. In the final game, neither player homered, but Yaz went 4 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a 5-3 Red Sox win. In the 2 games with the pennant on the line, Yaz was 7 for 8 with 6 RBIs. The Red Sox lost the World Series 4-3 to the Cardinals, losing 3 times to Bob Gibson. Yaz batted .400 with 3 home runs and 5 RBIs in the series. That season, he also won the Hickok Belt as Top Professional Athlete of the Year and Sports Illustrated Magazine's Sportsman of the Year award. In an article he co-wrote for the November 1967 issue of Sport Magazine, Yaz credited Boston's remarkable season to manager Dick Williams and an infusion of youth, including Rico Petrocelli and Tony Conigliaro. Of Williams, Yaz wrote, "He got rid of all the individuality, made us into a team, gave us an incentive, and made us want to win." So he definitely was a selfless leader too, and was giving credit to other players, even though he had so many accomplishments, which I thought was really cool. In 1968, Yaz again won the batting championship because of the competitive advantages pitchers enjoyed between 1963 and 1968 before the lowering of the pitcher's mound following the 1968 season. Yaz's 301 mark in the year of the pitcher is the lowest average of any batting champion in Major League history. He was the only hitter in the AL to hit 300 that season against such formidable pitching, and he led the league in on-base percentage and walks. In 1969, Yaz had the first of 2 consecutive 40 home run seasons as he led the Red Sox to third place finishes that year and the next. In the 1970 All-Star game, he got 4 hits, tying the record, and was named the game MVP in a losing effort. He is one of 2 players to win the All-Star Game MVP award despite playing for the losing team. Brooks Robinson also did it in 1966. Yaz's .329 batting average that season was his career high, but he finished second behind the California Angels' Alex Johnson for the batting title by less than .001. So remarkably close. In 1970, he led the league in slugging and on-base percentage, finishing 3rd in home runs. In the early 1970s, Yaz suffered hand injuries that drastically reduced his power and productivity until healed. He also suffered a permanent shoulder injury that reduced his power, causing him to change his distinctive batting stance. Although he hit but 61 home runs over the next 4 years from 1971 to 74, as the Red Sox finished second twice and third twice, he finished in the top 10 in batting and top 3 in on-base percentage and walks in 1973 and 74. Oh, and he also led the league in runs scored in 1974. I mean, this man just has so many accolades to his game, and it's just really fun to look back on his career. He ended up retiring at the end of the 1983 season at age 44, though he wrote in his autobiography, Yaz, that he was planning on playing the 1984 season until he was tired from a long midseason slump. He also said that had he known how good Roger Clemens would be, he would have played in 1984 to have had a chance to play with him. But looking back on his career, definitely no regrets there for him. I mean, so many accolades there, forever a Red Sox legend. And when you think about the Red Sox players that are coming up and emerging through the system, hopefully some of them end up Red Sox legends too. He ended up being inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1989, his first year of eligibility, with support of 94% of voters. He is one of the few Hall of Famers to directly succeed another Hall of Famer at the same position. For his entire career with the Red Sox, he wore uniform number 8, which the Red Sox then retired on August 6th, 1989, after he was elected to the Hall of Fame. So I am very excited that it's almost opening day, and it's always fun to look back on the classic and legendary players that led the Red Sox to be the successful franchise that they are today. So as we get closer to opening day, continue to tune in to Locked On Red Sox. I appreciate you making it your first listen of every day. Be sure to next check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball with host Dominic Martino and Matthew One. They will guide you through fantasy matchups and players you should be starting and sitting, and they can help you win your league. So make sure you check out that on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts right after this. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.